Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting an old favorite from Sword and Shield, Dragapult. So Dragapult just won the recent regional over this past weekend. Justin Tang taking yet his second regional. Oh my goodness, that guy is amazing, and he had Dragapult on his team comboed with the Chien-Pao stuff. So basically, you would think, oh, well, why not Dragonite? Dragonite Chien-Pao was, I thought, would be the dominant combination, and it might very well still be. But Justin just wanted to try something fun, and he said, you know what, Dragapult is still the fastest Pokemon in the format. Base 142 speed allows you to pretty much outspeed everything, and the fact that you're outspeeding the bundle and the Flutter Mane is important, right? Because then that allows you to be able to KO them. Okay, and then you add the fact that Chien-Pao is now legal, and now all of a sudden, Choice Band Dragapult, all right, with Dragon Darts is actually just doing so much damage, right? And you do so much chip with this, right? Choice Band, Dragon Darts, and then the Chien-Pao stuff. It just, it does so much, whether it's the beginning or the late game. And then in the back, you just clean up with stuff like Palafin, right? And this was the core that was pretty strong for Justin, right? With Chien-Pao, Dragapult, and Palafin. But then he had a good supporting stuff, right? With the Arcanine and then the Amoonguss. This is what allows him to, position around certain, matchups. And then finally in the back end, he had the Flutter Mane because, Flutter Mane is just really strong and it gives you a strong fairy type option to click into certain things that are weak to special attackers, right? So this is the idea. This is the core that Justin had. And if you look on, the recent Fort Wayne regionals, this is exactly the 6. And it's a good 6. And you might even put like Dragonite on this thing and it still works totally fine. But what did Justin want to do with Dragapult here? First of all, he just wanted to, like, you can ask him about this. I can't really speak for him, but he wanted to bring something a little bit more fun and a little unconventional. He said, oh, you know what, Dragapult actually is a little bit more interesting, right? Because the thing is, you remember, like, there's Treasures of Ruinmon, right? Everything's like a dark type. Dragapult's a ghost type. You might struggle a little bit. There's Flutter Manes running around that can just click fairy moves all the time. But then you remember, hold up, you have Terrestrialization, okay? And then now all of a sudden you have Terra Steel, Terra Blast as a key component to Dragon Ball. So this way, if you're up against a Flutter Mane, you just go with your Terra Steel and then go for Terra Blast, and then you just start picking up Flutter Mane KOs, right? And then remember, this is open team shit. And then if they see that, they're like, oh, wait a second. I may not want to click this here. So, Dragapult, besides Electrode, is just able to, just go for some big chip damage. And then, after that, you just reposition with your Palafin and it just cleans up in the back end, right? So, this is a strong 6. Now, am I saying, like, Dragapult is going to, like, dominate the meta, just because Justin won? I'm not so sure about that. I think Dragapult is still okay, just because there is a Chien-Pao, but other than that, I feel like you can still go with, like, Dragonite in here, right? But at the very least, is Dragapult viable? Is it able to be played? Yes. Okay, in that regard, yes. And especially on a team like this, where you just have, like, full balance and, like, a Fire, Water, Grass core with Arcanine, Amoonguss, Palafin, you can't even go wrong with that, right? And sometimes you might not even need to bring the Dragapult. You could just bring, like, Arcanine, Amoonguss, Palafin, and Flutter Mane for that matter, right? In some matches, you don't even bring the Chien-Pao for that matter, okay? And then the one thing that I did, and I'll even, like, reconstruct this team a little bit and give you some of our spreads, but the one thing that you could even try with this Arcanine here is Howl, all right? This is a pretty cool tech, because now what you can do is you Howl both your Dragapult, your Chien-Pao, your Palafin, and even yourself, right? And now all of a sudden, this Palafin is just hitting super hard with jet punches. This Chien-Pao is hitting hard, even harder as well. And then now your Dragapult, Dragon Dart stuff, after +1 Howl, after repositioning, is just all of a sudden hitting like a super truck. It's a really interesting tech. Now, the downside is you have to either give up Will-O-Wisp or Protect. And, in an open team sheet, if they see that your Arcanine doesn't have Protect, they're just going to full on double that slot and, with no fear because you don't have Protect. Now, you can keep Protect and keep Will-O-Wisp, but there's just so many games where, like, you really, really want that Will-O-Wisp just to really neuter those physical attackers, like an opposing Palafin, for example. But at the very least, even before Justin was, even before he won this region, Dragapult was already slightly rising. If I were to show you a couple of tournaments, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to the Nemi Iron Nemesis tour here, which he actually won himself with Dragapult in first place. So Dragapult was already winning tournaments even before this regional. Okay, and if we take a look at this, look again, it's Chien Pao with Dragapult, and it is a choice band set with Dragon, Darts, Terra Blast, Phantom Force, Fusion. That's the same set that Justin was running, and again, Arcanine, Amoonguss over here. Now, there is a Tinglu here, which is okay, and then Sylveon in the slot actually makes a lot of sense, because now what ends up happening is instead of the Flutter Mane, now you go for more bulk on your Sylveon, because you have the core of Arcanine and Tinglu to neuter physical attackers and also special attackers, and now your Sylveon itself is doing extra damage. And sometimes Sylveon struggles a little bit with damage versus the Fluttermane. You have more bulk, but you need a Throat Spray boost to be able to deal a lot of damage with the Sylveon, right? But if you're able to just get off a Throat Spray, then all of a sudden you're kind of just chilling here, and then you can just hide behind the bulk of Tinglu and the Arcanine, right? So that's the idea here. And then of course the Amoonguss here. So like you see a common core with Chien Pao, Arcanine, Amoonguss, and the Dragapult over here, and then your fairy type is Sylveon, and over here you have a Tinglu instead of like a Palafin, a water type. But again, still pretty all right. Then if you go into another tour, a more recent Neme tour, Dragapult was also in the top cut, didn't win, but still within the top cut. And this one again also relies on Chien Pao stuff, but then you have Scissor here, right? So you again, something that also benefits from the Chien Pao stuff, because you're just dropping defenses, and stuff like Dragapult and Scissor are just doing so much damage behind it, right? So that's another way you can definitely play this. And this is with the Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff. And notice, because of the nerf to order up, a lot of the Dondozos are kind of just dropping the order ups. But this still works overall. So you know what? Dragapult has some viability, right? And of course, it really just depends on the team and the way you want to play. Like you can even do something like this, where you can actually take away the Palafin and the Arcanine and opt for something like this with Chi-Yu Fluttermane, and then your Intimidate option becomes Gyarados. And you can definitely consider something like this as far as like what you want to run. This could be like the offensive Dragon Dance Gyarados, and then you also have the combination of Chi-Yu Fluttermane for like, you know, putting on a bunch of pressure with all your special attack damage. Okay, and then at the same time, this Gyarados, if you don't want to go offensive with it, I think you do want to go offensive with it, but if you don't want to, you could now have access to Waterfall. You could do the Thunder Wave taunt stuff. Where's that? Thunder Wave. You can do Taunt, and then over here you can do stuff like Helping Hand, right? For example, or if you don't want Helping Hand, you can go Protect. But either way, you're basically supporting the same way. You have Intimidate support, and even though you don't have the Arcanine anymore, you have the Chi-Yu, and then you're just able to blow stuff up with the combination of these two, right? And Gyarados also gives you a Flying type on your team, which is really good against the Tinglu stuff, right? If you don't want to get fissured, just run a Flying type, or just go like Terra Flying. So this is another way to run a Dragapult Chien Pao stuff with Gyarados, because don't forget, Gyarados can also do more damage with Chien Pao as its side. So I do want to say that much. But if you don't like the Gyarados Chi-Yu combination, by the way, if you want me to build this team for you, you know, you can just ask me in the comments section, and I can give you like this team and some EV spreads for a tier 3 sub to the channel, of course. All right, but let's go back to Justin's team, because I really like the way that functions. It's very standard, and it's very simple and easy to play, very positional based, which is very important in VGC. Again, the only thing that I would do differently is two things, and I already talked about one of them. Okay, first of all, we'll consider the Howl Arcanine stuff, especially if you just want to have some fun on ladder. You could definitely do Howl Arcanine over here, and then the other thing I would do here is, just because like sometimes the choice band can be a little bit you know, limiting. All right, and I'll show you a case like that when I show you a test battle using this team. But I would just do something like Life Orb, okay, and then just have Protect here. Still Terra Steel, and then of course you want Phantom Force, right? So you do give up the bug move, but that's okay. You do give up the pivot move. Not the worst thing in the world, but at the very least you do have Protect, which is actually really, really nice in that regard in terms of stalling and positioning stuff. So then from here, you know, just to do a little bit of quick team building, you know, with these mods, we're gonna have Focus Sash here. All right, Ice Spinner, definitely you want Sucker Punch here. You even want either Throat Chop or Sacred Sword. I do like Sacred Sword just for the King Gambit stuff, for sure. You're able to just do a lot of damage in that regard, and a fighting move is also really nice against the Treasures of Ruin Pokemon, just because dark types are weak to fighting types. Then over here, the Amoonguss Regenerator, of course. Citrus Berry for a little bit more recovery. Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff. Really good against Wo-Chien because it's 4 times weak. And then Protect. And again, you don't have the Clear Smog Jats because you have Haze here, which is good against the Dondozo stuff. But again, I feel like the Dondozo stuff has dropped off quite a bit just because of the nerf, and the Treasures of Ruinmon kind of just neuter it a little bit. So, not saying it's bad. I still think it's okay, but at the very least, you don't want to lose to it, right? So you definitely gotta have Haze just to respect that call. Here is just Flare Blitz, you Extreme Speed, and then Howl, and then Will-O-Wisp here, right? And again, if you want Protect, you can definitely consider Protect, but you got to give up something over here, right? And if you do want to run Howl, okay, and you do have to give up the Will-O-Wisp in that regard if you want Protect. But other than that, you can definitely still get away with it. But just be aware that, you know, unless you're very good at positioning, right, they're going to see that in open teepsies you don't have Protect, and you better watch out. But other than that, I still think it's a cool tech, at least on a team like this. And of course, Life Orb, Dragapult, and then everything else is just pretty much the same thing that Justin was running, and any other balanced Dragonite Chien-Pao team with Fluttermane would run, right? Just the same standard stuff, and then the Fluttermane over here. Now you can run Booster Energy here. I think that's totally fine. That's also because, you know, we have the Life Orb here, and then this is just like Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, your spread move, and then Protect. Now, that being said, you can run other tech moves here on the Dazzling Gleam. Besides the Dazzling Gleam, you could definitely run Perish Song. All right, you can definitely run Substitute. Of course, you could run another tech choice, like just to beat other Arcanines or other Terra Poison, you know, Wo-Chiens and Glimmorras, and even, you know, the Terra Poison Tinglus. You can run Psyshock over here. You know, it's definitely a consideration if you want to do that. But if you don't really care for it, if you rather just have the Dazzling Gleam damage, then that's totally fine as well, especially after the Booster Energy boost. So this is pretty much the team in terms of item wise. Now the Chien-Pao, I like Terra Ghost here, just because of the fighting stuff and the fake out stuff. So I do like that. Amoonguss, I like Terra Water just because it'll resist the Arcanine Flare Blitzes, you know, and you're neutral to all the psychic stuff, so that's also nice as well. Arcanine here, I do like. I also like Terra Water here, just because. And then, you know, you already have the goggles for the Amoonguss anyway. Palafin Water is pretty standard, and then the Fluttermane, I just like Terra Fairy. It's also pretty good. So this is it. Now in terms of like an EV spread, so let's take a look at how we would do that. Okay, so with Dragapult here, so there's a couple of ways to see this, and this really depends on you as a player. You definitely go Jolly, right? And then you consider, okay, there's Bundle and then there's Fluttermane, and I want to outspeed both of them, but I don't need to outspeed, I don't need to go max speed, right? So the idea is this: you go to, what's it called, 207, then you just outspeed everything, right? The Bundle and the Fluttermane can't touch you, right? Because think about this, you're going max speed here. If this was a timid set, 205, and then the Bundle is 206, so you just go 207. But that being said, you know, you can do that because there's no other Dragapult running around, okay? And then you're able to just, you know, go max attack, have some, you know, 36 HP, and then 1 point in the bulks, right? You could definitely do this, okay? But that being said, because of the results from tonight, and when more people are going to try Dragapult, at this point, you know, well, let's just go max speed, and, you know, just so that we can force potential speed ties. And that's okay. And then all we do is we just bump it up to 44 just to optimize the Life Orb chip, and then again just dump the rest into attack. A very, very standard Life Orb Dragapult set that you may have remembered in Sword and Shield, right? Chien-Pao, a very, very easy, you know, just 252, 252. It's a Sash Mon. You speed tie the Fluttermanes, and if they're bulky, then you outspeed them. So in that regard, you win. This Amoonguss, I do like the defensive boost in that regard, so you can definitely consider that. By the way, you don't even have to like reduce your speed here. You could definitely go for a little bit more speed just to outspeed other Amoongusses and get off your own Pollen Puffs or Spores. So you could definitely do something like this, where you're going like Bold Nature and just getting that boost, and maybe just having a little bit of speed on the Amoonguss, you know, because there's not really that much Trick Room stuff running around, right? Because the NDD Armor stuff kind of just gets wrecked by the Ice Spinner and then the Treasures of Ruinmon. So in that regard, what you could do is this. You could do a little bit of speed on the Amoonguss just so that you outspeed other Amoongusses, and then you just do something like this, right? You go to 220 to optimize your Citrus Berry. If you really care about Regenerator, then you just go to 219. But because I have a berry, I like 220. Then you just go for the benchmark here, right here for the EV bump, you see how you go up to +2 in this benchmark. And remember, it's every 80 EVs after the first benchmark that you get a boost in that stat. And again, I say it in every video, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, you have to know what they are. And if you don't, comment in the video section below, say you don't know what EV bumps are, and I'll just give you one of my copy pasta explanations, right? And then over here, you just do this, right? You just max out special defense and just put 1 point in special attack just because that's all you have. But again, this is just to outspeed other Amoonguses, and because there's not really that much Trick Room stuff running around. But if you care that there is Trick Room stuff, then you just take away the speed and put all the bulk in special defense. So something like that. But to me, you know, I just feel like, yeah, I don't really see it. But if you had to do it, here, I'll just go like Relax Nature, because that's always the one that I've always been using. You go 0 IVs here, okay, and then from there, you just do this, right? And there's really nothing else that you really need to do with the moves. But I digress, okay? The Arcanine here, so I like going Jolly here, just because I like to outspeed the Great Tusk and just potentially Wisdom. So here again, you'll see like I hit another EV bump here. You see how you go from 152 to 154. It goes up by 2 points instead of 1. And then, you know, I just go like 1 point above, just you know, outspeed stuff, outspeed the Great Tusk. And then from there, you just put a little bit of attack. And again, because of Howl, you don't really need that much attack, right? Now there may be certain scenarios where you just don't need the Howl, but like it just comes in clutch. I feel like it just comes in clutch. Then you just, you know, put 1 point in all your bulk, and then you just do this, and the rest just goes into your attack stat like this, right? And that's really all you want from your Arcanine, just to be bulky and supportive, and then just click Howl, and that's really all you need. Palafin here, so Adamant Nature for sure. Of course, I like hitting the benchmark here with, you know, 236 investment, and then I just go like this much speed, right? 52, just to outspeed other Palafins potentially, and they always run something like this where, you know, just max HP, almost max attack. They hit the bump, and then they just have the rest that's in speed, right? But I want to outspeed these Palafins, right? Because if it comes down to speed ties, that's going to be annoying. So you take a little bit off, okay? Something like this, and then you just invest into your speed like this. And then now you can safely say, all right, I know I'm going to probably have the faster Palafin. And you just take a little bit off the bulk. It's no big deal. All right, the Fluttermane here. So couple ways you can do this. If you want to outspeed like stuff like Garchomp, you just run like this. Like there's really no else you need, and the Floodmane is just like super bulky. But if you care about like outspeeding still stuff like Dondozo, for example, the Adamant stuff, you just go a little bit more. Wait, I'm sorry, I wanted to go Modest Nature. Yeah, right around here is where you want, right? Something like this. Okay, but again, I want to outspeed these Fluttermanes that are trying to outspeed Garchomp stuff. So I just go up to 175, and this outspeeds Dondozo 252s anyway, so go figure. And then I just go the first bump here in the special attack, and again, this will also give me the guaranteed Modest Nature when I have my booster energy. And then from here, I just go like this, 159, and then the rest into 84 defense. Okay. Now that being said, if you want to have a little bit more bulk, you know, but this was supposed to optimize for the Tyranitar Samchip damage. But, you know, you can also do something like this, where you just have a lot more bulk in defense. And I remember this used to be like my Life Orb set, but it still pretty much works out here. And you have a very bulky Fluttermane in that regard, right? So you can definitely consider this spread. I like it a lot. It's very bulky. It stays on the field. It does the damage. But this is it. This is a very, very quick, you know, EV team building video. And again, is Dragapult the play in Series 3 RegulationC? I mean, if you want to have a little bit of fun, yeah, I mean, it still works. It's still very, very strong. In the video that I'm going to, in the test battle I'm going to show you, I was using Banded Dragapult. I still think that's still pretty good, but there are certain scenarios where like, I kind of like Protect. All right, and the only difference here is with Life Orb, you kind of sacrifice some of your damage calcs with Choice Band, and you can kind of compensate that with a little bit if you run Howl. But if you don't run Howl, then I think you just go Banded Dragapult here. But it really just depends on the player and how you want to test it. But again, the advantage of using Dragapult is, again, you outspeed everything in the format. You have Phantom Force that can go through Protects. Dragon Darts with Chien-Pao just hits like an absolute truck, okay? And then things like Palafin and Floodmane can just come in and just sweep up and clean up after everything has taken so much chip damage from the Dragon Darts, right? So this is how I would do it. So what I'm going to do is just show you one very, very basic test battle against some rando on one of my test accounts, and then let's see how we do. Okay, so this guy is pretty much running whatever he wants. He's got the Magnet Zone here. It's pretty good against Fluttermane, I guess. Also not bad against Chien-Pao. And then he's got Volcarona, Mouse Hold stuff, along with Mouse Hold Fluttermane. And then there's a Chien-Pao here. I'm not sure why that's there. I guess there's a Lycanroc there. But honestly, Dragapult and Fluttermane, I'll actually kind of just run through this whole team. So let's see how we do here. So I'm just going to go with the Amoonguss, actually, just to see and what he's going to do. So here's my Dragapult Amoonguss. Sort of ruined. So the idea, oh, and he actually has the balloon here. So ideally what you can do is just create space with the spore stuff. But I don't want my Chien-Pao to just run through into my Dragapult, right? So at the very least, what I'm going to do is get my Dragapult out of here. And again, in this moment, I am banded U-turn. So in that regard, again, I'm going to redirect everything. He protects that thing. I don't know why I wasn't even going for that. So banded U-turn does that much damage, and there is a Chien-Pao in that field, right? So very, very good chip. I'm going to go into the Fluttermane here, and he does go for Crunch, which is very interesting. But now I'm very susceptible to the Ice Spinner next turn, and I'm also against this Magnet Zone. So I'm in a bit of an interesting spot, but at the very least, I can protect the Fluttermane here. This was actually a bad call because I could have just did Dazzling Gleam and then take out the Fluttermane and then just do a little bit of chip damage into the Magnet Zone. So that was a misplay on my part. I thought he would probably go aggressive into the Fluttermane, but yeah. Here, so but now look at this spot, right? Look, Dragapult and Fluttermane on the same field. He switches out the Chien-Pao just so that the Dragapult doesn't just run through. But like, look at this damage. Dragon Darts here, Dragon Darts here on the Magnet Zone, of course. A very, very good chip. And then more chip damage from the Shadow Ball. I am Life Orb Fluttermane in this because I was banded Dragapult. He does take out my Fluttermane, but now look at this position. Dragapult and Chien-Pao comes in. You think these two are living? I don't think so. All right. So Dragon Darts, goodbye Volcarona. Dragon Darts, goodbye Magnet Zone. Well, almost goodbye Magnet Zone. We just Sacred Sword that thing and it dies. And now look who he's got. He's got Fluttermane and he's got basically a 9% health Chien-Pao. And realistically, I just want to create this this 2-on-1 scenario against the Fluttermane. I have a Sash on Chien-Pao, and I kind of want to create that end game where like my Dragapult may drop to the Fluttermane, but if I can just chip the Fluttermane and just clean up with the Chien-Pao, then that's all I need. So I'm going to preserve the Chien-Pao here, not let its Sash get broken. He does have the Speed Terra, so there's that. This is where Terra Steel Dragapult comes into play. Look how valuable this is, and now he just darts this thing. All right, because, it was a little awkward, right? Because I had to kind of get rid of it, but, the Dragon move is not going to do anything into Fluttermane. I could have clicked maybe like U-turn or stuff, or even like Terra Blast, but at this point I was already locked in. But this is why like Life Orb is pretty good on Dragapult, because then you have a little bit more flexible options rather than the band. But this is still okay, right? Because I still have a Chien-Pao here, so he does Shadow Ball. That's okay. I go, again just chip damage, and then the Ice Spinner actually just cleans it up anyway. So in that regard, yeah, I don't know why he was going for that, because but I already knew he wasn't Sash, right? Because the Sash was elsewhere. It was on his Chien-Pao, for that matter. So we do get the win there in this regard. So, but you see the damage that Dragapult can do, but you also see some of its limitations because of the Choice Band stuff, right? But other than that, I think Dragapult Chien-Pao is very, very good. Okay, I don't know if it's better than Dragonite Chien-Pao, but I think it's very, very good. So if you want to give it a go, definitely give it a go. I think Howl's an interesting tech, but again, if you like Protect, and if you don't really care for Howl, then just put it back. It really doesn't matter in that sense. But I think the 6 that Justin had is very, very ideal. If you want to try the Gyarados variant with Chi-Yu Fluttermane, you can definitely do that. If you want me to build that for you, again, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel where, again, we provide one-on-one coaching in terms of team building. We show you how to create EV spreads like this. And if you're trying to go to another regional like EUIC, Hartford, or Milwaukee, and if you need to try and build a regulationC team, now that we have some data, now's the time to book your session with me. If you just look at the video description below, check the comment section. There is a link to join the channel with the tier 3 sub, and then you just message me on Discord, and we schedule your session for coaching, or every single video has a join button. That works too. So if this is something you're interested in, again, definitely sign up. We had a few people go into Fort Wayne. A lot of them went 5 and 4 for their first time, so we gave them some good squads. We had one other person who got 6-3 and got 40 CP out of it, so that was also really, really nice. Similar to how Philip was able to get 40 CP back in Knoxville, so very, very happy there for our clients, as I like to call them. But yeah, Dragapult Chien-Pao, pretty solid. I don't know if it's better than Dragonite Chien-Pao, but again, if you want something like this, definitely give Dragapult a try. I think with Chien-Pao, it actually does relatively decently. All right, we'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, guys, and have a good night.